What if Deku joined Team JPDE? Chapter 55. A Gambit and Favor. Sunday. Day 147. Too many controlled variables. Ozpin was to be expected. And yet he's the one who's given us no trouble at all. Our cover as transfer students has worked admirably, none of the staff has even given us a second glance. The biggest annoyances so far have come from students. First years, to boot. Team RWBY has gotten in the way of the operations in Vale time and again. Of course, one of them should be tied to the White Fang. Now that the focus has moved to Mountain Glen, though, that's nipped in the bud. And Team JPDE. I thought I could use them and their semblances, but I may have severely overplayed my hand. I wanted to kill a gargantuan Grim to free smaller ones from its influence and attract more towards Beacon. But then they actually went and destroyed those two. They've become suspicious. The only silver lining is that I know enough about them to also ruin their own operations, but I'll need to be careful now to not make our interests mutually exclusive. Which may as well be, for all I know. I should have researched them more before Cinder thought. Unbecoming, Salem said. Salem appeared before Cinder. My lady, Cinder asked. Look at yourself. Didn't you tell me you could accomplish this? Yet here I find you, obsessing over your lack of control, Salem said. No plan survives first contact, my lady. And obsessing over the details, especially those out of my control, has always served me well, Cinder said. Indeed, it has, Salem said. To what do I owe this honor, my lady? Have I displeased you in some way, Cinder asked. Not at the moment, no. But something has come up. And I would have you look into it, Salem said. Meanwhile in Vale, David, Deku and Bella were together to give Bella another charge of aura. There we go. Another full charge, David said. Thanks, big bro, Bella said, before burping. Bella. What's wrong, Deku asked. Nothing. Wrong, exactly. It's just I never ever got this much aura in me before. It feels a bit like overeating, Bella said. I see. Hopefully you don't throw up, then. That'd be a waste, Deku said. Easy for you to say. Why don't you get sick with all that aura you have, Bella asked. That's a good question, Deku said. Maybe because it's several aura pools. Instead of eating all at once, like Bella does, you eat a new meal after an aura pool drains, David said. That makes a lot of sense, Deku said. No fair. Why you always, Bella said before gagging. Careful, Bella. Do you need to lay down, David asked. David, Bella blushed. Oh my gods, oh my gods, oh my gods, David, Ijuku, Titania yelled. Titania. What's wrong, Deku asked. Have you seen Janara? Maybe when you got off the bullhead, Titania asked. Can't say we have, Deku said. Of course not. Damn it, Titania said. Titania, what happened? Why are you looking for Janara, Deku asked. Because of this, Titania said. Titania was holding a piece of paper. Is she crazy, David and Deku yelled after reading it. Up in Ozpin's office there was a knock on the window which surprised Ozpin, but what surprised him more was who came through it. So, I heard you've been asking about me, Janara asked. You, Ozpin said. I'm Janara. And you're Ozpin, the headmaster, right, Janara asked. Yes. I am, Ozpin said. You want to hurt me or something, Janara asked. Hurt? No, Ozpin said. Okay. Then what do you want with me, Janara asked. Nothing. Nothing in particular. I'd just like to talk, Ozpin said. Talk. All right. Sounds doable, Janara said. But not here. I don't trust you, Janara said. I understand. Where, then Ozpin asked. And when? Let's say we meet in Vale next Sunday. Tenom Janara said. In Vale. But Ozpin said. What's wrong with Vale? Janara asked. Just your appearance, Ozpin said. Oh, that. Already tried, they just think I'm some kind of faunus, Janara said. I see. No problem, then Ozpin asked. Of course not. I got to go now, I hear someone coming, Janara said. Yes, that's understandable considering you. Anyway, I'll see you next week, Ozpin asked. That's what we said, yes. Ciao, Janara said. Janara then flew out the window she came in. Ozpin, Glinda yelled, coming from the lift. Are you alright? What happened? Glinda asked. I just had the strangest visitor, Ozpin said. Through the window, I noticed. Did they leave? Why didn't you call for help? Glinda asked. There was no need. They weren't threatening, I'm not helpless, and more importantly, I've confirmed that our mysterious Janara is in no way tied to Salem, Ozpin said. You mean? It was the girl that Glinda asked. Yes. Also, it seems I got invited to a play date, Ozpin said. You what? Glinda asked. Back in the Beacon Gardens. Do you understand? Salem asked. A young girl. Who resembles you in appearance, Cinder said. She's also supposed to be a magic user and to have attacked the Gamera in the Barito Forest, Slum said. Cinder was surprised. You have a lead in mind. I suggest you pursue it, Salem said. My lady. Pursuing it may cause me to come into further contact with out-of-control details that best be avoided at all costs, Cinder said. Salem scowled. My lady? Cinder asked. I'm thinking, Salem said. She's thinking, Cinder thought. Thread carefully. Your mission takes priority, Salem said. As you wish, my lady, Cinder said. She had to think about what takes priority. Who is this girl? Cindy thought. Now, tell me about these out-of-control details, Salem said. As you wish, my lady, Cinder said. Janara had now returned to Vale. Janara, are you out of your goddamned mind? Titania yelled. No need to shout. Why are you shouting? You needed a distraction to get into the vault and help Amber, and now you have it. What are you upset about? Janara asked. Do not even try to shrug this off. If you seriously thought this wasn't going to be a big deal, you wouldn't have done it behind our backs, Titania said. It wasn't, in the end. He didn't attack me or anything, he just wants to talk and he agreed to meet in the middle of Vale. He's not a threat, Janara said. Janara, I understand that you want to help Amber, but that's not an evaluation you can do on your own. That's not an evaluation any of us can do, David said. Why? Janara asked. Because we don't know enough about him, and what little we know of him doesn't inspire trust. Most importantly, we know nothing about his semblance, David said. We understand that you wanted to help and that you picked a public place, but what if that doesn't impede him? What if he agreed because even a public place with a crowd is not an obstacle if he wants to abscond with you, for instance? Titania asked. I understand what you mean, but I needed to do something. Amber needs our help, doesn't she? This is the best chance we have, Janara said. Deku sighed. She's right. It's the best chance we have of getting into the vault, Deku said. Izuku, David and Titania yelled. You can't be agreeing with her, Titania said. As much as we distrust Ozpin, I doubt he would ever harm an innocent little girl, even if she looks like a Grimm. And besides, he understands that if anything bad were to happen to her he would have hell to pay from us, Deku said. David and Titania went silent. Titania. David. I understand Toa worries, but... They're right, Bella said. Okay, for what it's worth, I don't think Ozpin's interest in Janara is nefarious. But... I feel it's personal, David said. You are not meeting him unchaperoned, Titania said. Professor Peach will need to distract Miss Goodwitch, we need Penny to get into the vault, and me and Jack will need to show David and Bella inside, and as a backup or a reserve. Titania, you and Evelyn will have to keep an eye on her, Deku said. And Thilla will help. I'm sure of it, Bella said. Jack won't be happy. Let me give her a call, Deku said. Deku then called Jack and told her what Janara had done. I see. Yeah, I agree. In this situation, the best thing we can do is roll with it. Yeah, be sure to tell Professor Peach as well. I'll be back by 8 p.m. Jack said. Trouble in paradise, Lisa asked. Maybe. But it concerns a part of our lives you're not privy to yet, Jack said. I think you will reconsider that once you hear what I got for you today, Lisa said. Someone's confident. So you didn't ask me here just to ask me out, Jack asked. And I'm the confident one. As I said the first time, I don't go for people younger than me. Anyway. It's actually information concerning Weza Van Gertie. A little piece of information that I think will make all the difference, Lisa said. About Weza, Jack said. From what you told me, you only have partial information about his semblance. I've given you some about his recent past, but you know nothing about his beginnings. Now, what would you say if I told you that I could shed some light on that, Lisa said. Alright, I can't say that I'm not interested. Since we discovered that Weza has been planning all of this at least since he was a student at Beacon. His motives and plans must be tied to his past, Jack said. Probably. So, what is this information worth to you, Lisa asked. I think I'll tell you what we've discovered about Peak. Time to get involved in our troubles, Miss Lavender, Jack said. So I can get further interested in it and dig up more information for you, huh? Clever girl, Lisa said. Hours later, Deku was in Beacon's mess hall. He was thinking about the events that had transpired and the future. Bold. Being full of openings in front of a sniper, May said. Oh, hello. I didn't see you there. You're May, right? Deku asked. Yes. And your name is Izuku, right? Or is it Deku? May asked. It's Izuku. Deku is a nickname. Anyway, I don't believe I've thanked you for coming to our rescue, Deku said. Verbal displays of gratitude are not needed, May said. Ah, yes. David mentioned that you would be wanting our help soon, Deku said. Yes. That's the reason came looking for one of you, May said. Very well. Want anything to drink while we talk? Deku asked. Yes. A mocha, please, May said. Deku and May then sat down in the mess hall. Before we talk about what I want. What had you so distracted? May asked. Just that more mysteries keep popping up in front of us, Deku said. With no answer in sight, May asked. Just conjectures and hypotheses. At least it's not a cause of immediate danger, this time, Deku said. I guess that's a bonus. But that's the thing with the unknown. You never know when it may turn into danger, May said. I know it does. Anyway, you said you wanted to discuss what you wanted our help with. So, what is it? Deku asked. I would have liked to speak to David about this since he made the offer, but I couldn't find him, May said. Ah, that's because Penny and Evelyn are keeping him busy, Deku said. I see, May said, blushing. Moving on. I'll start by saying that it's not something immediate, but for the future, May said. I see. So, what is it? Deku asked. A hunt, May said. A hunt, you say? What exactly do you need help hunting? Deku asked. A grim, May said. Just one? Deku asked. Just one, May said. Well, I'm going to need to know more, Deku said. Sure, you probably know by now that hunters and students get assignments, sent on missions. Some are long-term, some are short-term. Most are organized by the kingdom's hunter coordination structures. But some are private requests. Now, do you know which kind of mission private citizens request the most? May asked. Deku said. Deku began to think. Deku's face fell. Retrieving corpses, tags or heirlooms after a grim attack, Deku said. Yes, but not only after grim attacks. We had a world war not too long a time ago. Most of the people who went to fight in it didn't have aura. And those who didn't return are even more numerous, May said. And with the war only ending recently, many of those people have parents, spouses and children that are still alive today, Deku said. With the last spoils of their loved ones slowly crumble away in some forgotten battlefield on Remnant. The Grim I need to hunt haunts one such battlefield to the west of Vale, at the border with Vacuo, May said. A territorial Grim. Is it a gargantuan Grim, like the Gumro? Deku asked. Class-wise, it's a gargantuan Grim, able to influence smaller ones to do its bidding. But it's not as big, even if it's just as dangerous. Maybe more, May said. And you know the Grim? From personal experience, Deku asked. No. I will compile a brief regarding the Grim if you accept to help me. In short, what I want your team to do is choose a comfort retrieval mission which will bring you to Verdunum, on the day of your final exam, May said. I see. And then, you and your team will meet us there, Deku asked. No, just me. My team has no reason to follow me on this fool's errand, not even scholastically. Vacuo students get their credits for the final exam during the year. This is personal. But I can't do it alone, May said. If that's what you want, then fine. But I think you should seriously reconsider your decision in leaving your team out of this. Even if they have nothing to gain, I'm sure they'd agree if you asked, Deku said. I'll think about it. Let me know your answer after you've talked about it with your team, May said. I will. But I think I already know the answer will be a resounding yes after your help, Deku said. You're very kind. But still, you should discuss it. This is going to be dangerous and there's no one to save here. This isn't a rescue mission. This is pure, selfish revenge, May said. May then walked away. In the safe house. He still hasn't gotten over it, Weza said. Nope, Howard said. I thought Mr. Bob would have stopped any kind of self-destructive behavior. But maybe its grim instincts have taken over his survival instincts because of Andrea's current state of mind, Weza said. Still, I'd kinda love to start sleeping in that room again. Any ideas? Howard asked. Oh, I'll just talk to him, Weza said. Talk to him? Howard asked. I feel a certain affinity to Andrea's situation and I think the relatability will help diffuse his foul mood. Just give me a few minutes, Weza said. Weza then entered the bedroom. What could they possibly have in common, Howard thought. In the bedroom. Go away. I'll kill you, Andrea said. Oh, I'm sure you'd give it your best shot. But problem is, my semblance is quite similar in scope to Miss Damerot's new one, Weza said. Andrea glared at Weza. It can alter your body's movements without you being able to do anything about it, leaving you completely helpless and powerless. A perfect counter to yours, Weza said. I've never felt so humiliated, Andrea yelled. Oh, don't be ridiculous. Of course you have, Weza said. What? Andrea said. That singular, original, particular time that made you discover hate. That made you decide that nothing mattered more than proving yourself superior. Of course, you didn't ask for the opportunity to do so to drop in your lap so rashly, but what could you do other than take it? If you hadn't, someone else would have, Weza said. You. How do you? Andrea said. I've been there, Andrea. I've never suffered such excruciating setbacks, true, but that's because I never fell into complacency as you have. Venting on yourself and the wall is useless, charming as that blood-stained crack in the plaster may be. What you need is progress, move forward. Have that second realization, Weza said. Which realization? Tell. Oh, shut the fuck up, Bob, Andrea yelled. It's simple, Andrea. The realization you need to come to is that obsessing over them was useless to begin with, Weza said. Andrea was shocked by this answer. The sole fact that you could prove yourself their superior so easily, so early, is proof enough that they were beneath your notice to begin with. But growth isn't exclusive to us. Potential, great that it may be, must be constantly sharpened and tested to be brought to full fruition. Not to prove yourself to others, not to prove your superiority, but to actually be superior, Weza said. Be superior, Andrea said. Yes. To stand alone at the top of the world, Weza said. But, well, I wouldn't mind the company of some like-minded individuals. What's life without stimuli, I say, Weza said. Can you show me the road to the top? Boss, Andrea asked. Jack had just arrived back at Beacon. This didn't help at all. I'm nowhere closer to guessing at Weza's motives or plans than I was before. He's just too different. I'm a normal person. I love my family, I love my friends, and I generally don't desire harm on anyone unless they become my enemies. And even then, how can I begin to understand someone who damned his own hometown, Jack thought. Team JPDE were all fast asleep. David, Penny and Evelyn were all sleeping in the makeshift double bed, whilst Deku was sleeping in Evelyn's bed. As they slept, someone snuck into their room. They made their way over to Deku. Deku was woken up by something sitting on him, and grinding. Deku opened his eyes to see a tricolored girl. Neo. What are you doing here? Deku asked. Neo smiled and proceeded to dock her fingers, making Deku blush. Are you sure? I mean, I thought you wouldn't. After Deku said. Neo pouted. Neo then began to shimmer, showing that she wasn't wearing her combat clothes. She was wearing a sexy set of lingerie. Deku was stunned silent. Neo smirked. I do indeed like what I see, Deku said. Neo and Deku then spent the night together. End of chapter 55.